We begin with letting go into the body. Fully letting go. Helping yourself with exhalation. Dropping into your body. The weight of your existence moves into the body. And into your emotional body. Which is but a dimension of the physical body. And into any emotion that may manifest from your emotional body, merging with all of that. Perhaps you have read the last article about reshaping our memories. There is much more to come. The subject of memory is extremely important, but it is complex, very complex. When you read the next article that will come soon, you will see it's rather complex. But if you start to contemplate that subject, allow yourself to embrace that complexity, to somehow try to understand what is happening there in your memory, then it will be of great help in understanding of who you are and understanding everything in you, including your emotions and the healing work and the spiritual work. And I will try to explain in this talk a little bit. Not too much, because these concepts are not so easy to grasp. And I do not want to burden your mind in meditation. You feel emotions in your body. How? What you experience emotionally in the body is part of your long-term memory. In fact, it is your long-term memory that is experiencing those emotions. Long-term memory is divided into two kinds. One called implicit, which means unconscious, which translates as unconscious memory, is something that you have no access to, but it is still in your body, and it is affecting you on many levels, and is present in your life in many levels, allowing, for instance, to perform automatic functions, things that you do not need to think about. And then there's the second memory, which is long-term memory, which is called the explicit long-term memory, which allows you to recall your past, to remember your past. But additionally, it allows you to remember the emotions in yourself which are in the present, not from the past. The difference between these memories, simply speaking, is that the explicit one is closer to consciousness, closer to conscious recognition. As we are trying to transform emotionally, release or heal emotions which are disturbing in us or painful, we are dealing with the long-term memory. We are transforming that memory. That memory which is in your body. Because what you feel in your body is a long-term memory. And we are transforming it not by thinking about it, not by going through the mind, employing different therapeutical means. We are transforming it by entering into it directly with consciousness, with your light. It is a direct path to emotional transformation. You have no control over these memories, especially the emotional ones, because they are very deep in you. And they hide in the dark of the unconscious, and they are largely irrational. So what can you do with them? There's initially a sense of helplessness or failure in dealing with these emotions, because it's just so difficult. But it is only because we are not doing it right. We are not in correct relationship with our emotions for once, but looking even deeper, we are not in a correct relationship with our memory. Because you are in relationship with your long-term memory and short-term memory. I will speak of it later on as well. Now, when you are paying attention to your emotions in your body, because obviously you are paying attention, your explicit long-term memory is automatically recognizing, it's already doing the recognition of emotions in your body. But there's the second level of recognition where you are paying conscious attention. And this is the function of what is called working memory, which is certain extension of the short-term memory. Short-term memory is very, very short, a couple of seconds. Working memory is longer, still short, up to 30 seconds. And then you need to reactivate it again. So you keep reactivating that memory. that working memory in order to help you to work with your long-term memory. So you are paying attention. You are paying attention is the first step. Then you are second surrendering to your emotions, which is also the command given to you by your working memory. Tells you surrender to your emotions, feel them, become one with them. Working memory is part of the conscious mind, conscious intelligence. Without it, we could not do anything at all. It would exist purely in the subconscious realm. Before I go deeper into how to heal that long-term memory, I would like to mention also, to help you to understand, that in the event that you are having an emotional experience through your, for instance, interaction with another person, negative experience, challenging experience, that experience is being naturally felt, you feel it, but it is being identified by emotional memory. And the primary center of the emotional memory, and that I would call the short-term emotional memory, is in amygdala. Your amygdala reacts. It feels hurt, it feels, for instance, fearful, it feels, for instance, angry, it reacts. So there's this emotional memory in your amygdala which functions as a reaction and holding an emotion experience in the present. Then what happens is that emotion from amygdala is being immediately transferred into your body. And then it becomes part of your explicit long-term memory. It actually becomes a long-term memory. But it is still experienced in the present, because you do experience long-term memory in the present, after all. Part of the function of the explicit long-term memory is the ability to recall the past, as I mentioned, to remember the past. In this case, we speak about emotional past. Through that when you remember, when you go with your mind to your past, you remember a specific emotion, a specific event which triggers you emotionally, that is immediately registered in amygdala. So in this case, the explicit long-term memory activates the emotional memory in amygdala. So sometimes amygdala is the first, sometimes the explicit emotional memory is the first in being the emotional trigger. When you are being triggered emotionally, what happens next, when amygdala is triggered, the working memory enters, trying to deal with that emotion. And unfortunately, the way it manifests in most people is that they begin to process that emotion or emotions in the mind, becoming more and more miserable, because the mind cannot provide emotional solution to something that is fundamentally emotional and irrational. This is why when you are having an emotional experience, when you are negative experience, when you are triggered emotionally, you need to immediately drop it into your body. This is how your working memory should be taught. It should be reprogrammed. It should learn what to do with that emotion. Because when you get emotional, in your emotion, in the head, in the mind, that emotion leaves a scar. And that scar is being that negativity of that experience is being then transferred into your long-term memory, and then it is in your body, and then it is more difficult to access and to transform. That's why you need to do it immediately. I know I'm speaking about many things because there are so many things here, and I would like to communicate them. Let me say it again. You are being triggered emotionally. You meet someone, for instance, and you become fearful, which means your amygdala becomes fearful. It creates this emotional memory of fear. And it is a short-term memory. I'm not using the term short memory exactly how it is used in science, using it in my own way to some extent. It is a short-term memory because because amygdala cannot process it, so it is being immediately transferred for processing either into the body or into the mind. So you experience that strong emotion, and as a response, your working memory enters trying to solve it, trying to cope with it. And that is a precious opportunity, that moment, that transition between what is triggered in amygdala and working memory entering is the precious moment where you can transform your emotion. You can release it, you can heal it. You can heal it actually in the moment. Most of your emotions are in your long-term memory, but all of your emotions are in the long-term memory, but you're also creating new emotions, new negative emotions. And then they become part of your long-term memory. So you can never really heal because you are adding more and more negativity and pain into your emotion, into your long-term memory. So you need to stop this vicious cycle and cut through it. And for that, you need to be very, very alert in your working memory, which in a simple term means in that intelligence that is trying to process that emotion, somehow to deal with it. Your working memory has to learn to not to process that emotion in the mind, because then how to say, you magnify that negativity of that emotion. That initial, let's say, fearfulness is not a big deal, but then when you hold into it, when you try to process it in your mind, and then there's a lot of subconscious activity as well happening, then it becomes a real problem. Then it becomes painful. Then you are suffering. And that suffering again becomes transferred into your long-term memory. The thing that I will explain in the next article is that working memory is very short, up to 30 seconds. So short memory, as it is called scientifically, is just a memory which is recognizing something, holding an object of recognition in a couple of seconds, and the working memory is trying to process that experience in the mind. But this processing is actually very short, up to 30 seconds. So each time you experience an emotion, because I am speaking of emotions for the moment, you have only 30 seconds to process it. And the positive processing of it that I'm talking about, is not doing it in your mind, but surrendering it into your body in just 30 seconds. Or much shorter, because working memory sometimes is much shorter. In this short time, you need to find a resolution to your emotional experience in order to heal it in the present. Why emotions should not be processed in the mind? One reason is that they are not supposed to be processed in the mind because it is not a natural place for experiencing emotions. There's an emotional impulse in the amygdala, but then it should go into the emotional body immediately via the pituitary gland and so forth. There's a transfer of information. But in that context of the working memory, understanding of the working memory, we can even have a better grasp why we should not experience emotions in the mind. Because the working memory simply cannot work properly. It gets emotionally disturbed. And it is a scientific fact that in a situation of stress, the working memory simply, first of all, is extremely shorter than usual, and then it falls into a state of complete disarray. Working memory should not be emotional. That's the point. Emotions are and other dimensions of ourselves, and they are experienced in different way, in different areas of our existence. Amygdala is experiencing emotions. The your body is experiencing emotions. Your emotional body is experiencing emotions. Your emotional centers are experiencing emotions, but not the working memory. Working memory, the moment it gets emotional, it gets confused. It loses clarity. It does not know what to do. It becomes basically irrational. And that's the problem. That is the difficulty. This is where the difficulty in coping with emotions come from. This comes from the fact that working memory becomes emotional. Your mind should be clear and free from emotions, so it can think clearly and respond rationally to whatever it is that you experience. Because we are in great need to become rational. Trying to heal emotionally without taking into the consideration that we should become rational will never work, will always fail. Because the one who wants to feel, the one who wants to heal is irrational. And who wants to heal? Your me wants to heal, but it is using the working memory in order to help with that healing, in order to facilitate that healing. Because working memory, which is also holding the faculty of attention and intention, is necessary to create an actual conscious relationship with our emotional experience. It is, because it's already more or less finished, much better explained in the article. Now I am just trying to somehow give you the basic information and also certain practical guidance. Let's start with the body. You surrender to your body. Do you feel pain in your heart? Do you feel fear in your solar plexus? Do you feel anxiety in your body? Do you feel grief in your body? And whatever you feel is good. That is also the fundamental information that should be imparted to your working memory. Everything that you experience is good. And it is not just, mind talking. It is truth. Everything in you is good. It is your relationship with your emotions that is problematic. It is your separation from your emotions that is problematic. So everything is good, but then you need to surrender to your emotions. That is also information imparted to your working memory. Yes, I need to surrender to my emotions. I need to let go into them. Not because there's something wrong with my emotions, but because I want to be unified with them. I want to become truly conscious emotionally. So healing is unification with emotions. It's not the removal of emotions, unwanted emotions. It is unification with them. Breathe and let go. With love. Gently. Connecting to your light. Because that consciousness which is surrendering to your body, because it's not the working memory which is surrendering to your body. Working memory is just directing your consciousness. This is your consciousness, emanating consciousness, which is surrendering to your body. That consciousness is light. So remember that you are entering your emotions with light, with love, with lovingly. You want to bring love and light to your long-term memory in order to change it. Are you still separated from your emotions? Are you resisting them? Surrender deeper. Let go deeper. For this to be possible, you do need to have access to being, if not the absolute. And do it with exhalation, letting go. And that exhalation, that correct breathing, as I spoke in the last retreat, has also emotional impact by the fact, for two reasons, because it carries consciousness and light, and second is that it allows you to generate enough carbon dioxide in the body, which is one of the most protective hormones in the body. It's not just a waste product of respiration, it is a protective hormone, healing hormone. It protects your cells. And your emotions and the memories of your emotions are in all your cells. It's all stored there. It's all distributed. Because, it's not just the neurons in the brain that carry memory and information. All your body does. All your body is like a big brain, one brain. So breathing is helping you to let go, but also healing the long-term memory. Breathing is really extremely important. Breathing is healing. And now let's go back to how emotional experience is activated in the present emotional memory, because emotional memory is a present emotional memory in amygdala, or short-term emotional memory, and it's a long-term emotional memory, which is your long-term memory. So when try to recall an emotional experience that is disturbing to you, such as with any interaction that happened recently. And feel what happens there. You are recalling it, by the way. I know those technical terms are maybe burdensome, but they do bring clarity. They do bring clarity. So that remembering of that emotional experience from your past, recent past, is done by the explicit long-term memory, but it can happen in two ways: spontaneously, you just only remember, subconsciously, or you can remember it through your working memory, by trying to remember. You see, when you try to remember something from the past, you are using your working memory. What is it that happened yesterday? Right? And sometimes you don't remember, because that information is not always readily available. But usually, when you're having strong, intense experiences, it's easier to remember them, because emotional memories are stronger. And if something is really disturbing, the memories of it are tend to be mostly activated through subconsciously in the explicit long-term memory. And then the working memory is trying to deal with them, comes in delay. So anyway, what I wanted to say, so you're having this emotion, the memory of the emotional experience, and it's not just a memory, you see. It's not just something from your past, because you experience it in your present. So it actually becomes your present memory, your present memory, which is registered in your amygdala. And by the way, that's why going into the past is not really a good idea, generally speaking, because that past, you are resurrecting the past. Let's say you think about bad memories from your childhood, you are resurrecting them. In the present, they become actually the present memories, no longer the past memories. You don't really know what exactly what happened in the past. You are interpreting it by remembering, and then you bring it into your present, and they become the present negative emotional memories. And then you need to deal with them. Anyway, so you remember that disturbing emotional event that happened recently. Try to remember. I'm talking too much, so probably you cannot focus, but try to remember anything. But it has to be a strong emotional experience, because if it's something insignificant, you don't really care, and there's no urgency in your working mind to do anything about it. But if it's an intense experience, like really disturbing, what happens is that not just your emotion is disturbed, working mind becomes disturbed. Does not know what to do with it. And is trying to solve it, and it has only up to 30 seconds to do it, and is failing. So try. Not to do anything about that emotion. In your mind, you do just nothing. And allow that emotion to be experienced fully in the body and surrender to it. Experiencing it as being good. You can do it. In this way, if you learn it, you will stop recreating, reproducing, replicating negative emotions through your mind and hurting your body emotionally. If you have obsessive thoughts about something from your past that disturbed you emotionally, that is not part of the working mind, but it manifests through explicit long-term memory. It is remembering, keeps remembering. But explicit emotional long-term memory is not only in the body, it's also in the mind. The subconscious mind is basically explicit long-term memory in action. So the only way to stop having these obsessions, because explicit long-term memory is subconscious and automatic, so there's no conscious feedback to it. That's why it cannot stop itself. So the only way to stop it is by reinforcing the correct intention from the working memory, that conscious feedback to it, saying, stop, enough, stop, enough of that nonsense. So there's a lot of information here because I find all the subject very fascinating and extremely helpful, because if you understand all these layers of memory inside you, long-term memory, implicit and explicit, the short-term memory, the short emotional memory, the working memory. If you understand all these memories, you can, like for the first time ever, and I mean ever, really see what is happening there in you. Because you don't know. You don't know what is happening at all in you. You know nothing what is happening in you. It's just, things are just happening, but you don't know what is happening and why and how. And because of that, you are not in correct relationship with that complex organism of memory inside you. Because it's all memory. You are living memory existing in the human consciousness. This is what you are. Your power. You see, your power is in the working memory, because it's the only part of you that is actually in control. Nothing else is in control. Everything is just happening spontaneously, because everything else is simply either unconscious or subconscious. The working memory is conscious. In the case of most people, it is not conscious. It's somehow in between conscious and subconscious, but you can make, as you make your working memory conscious, that's how you, and you are able to introduce the correct intention into it, then you'll have access to your power. And in order to have access to that power, working memory should not be under duress, should not be emotional, should be somehow disentangled from emotions. It's the only part in you that is rational, or at least the only part in you that is meant to become rational. Okay, working memory has a very short lifespan, 15-30 seconds only, but in this 15-30 seconds is where your power lies. Okay, it is 30 seconds or 15 seconds, but it is recurring, meaning 30 seconds it finishes, then it's being reactivated again, and it stops, being reactivated again, and it stops. This is how it works. Your working memory is your power. Of course, your me is your power. And attention, which is actually manifestation of me in the working memory, is also your power. But in order to employ that power, to use this power, you need to have intelligence. You need to be present. You need to be conscious. You need to be in the working memory, free from emotions, clear. But you also need to be intelligent, to know what to do. And I am basically trying here to guide your working memory. This is what I'm doing. As you surrender to your body, can you help yourself? Can you heal? Can you unify with your emotions? It's not a guidance, of course, for anyone or everyone. It is a guidance for you, because you're on the spiritual path and you have access to certain spaces inside you that other people don't. And hopefully you are conscious. It's guidance for you. But so can you help yourself? Is your working memory smart enough to help you? That's the question, you see. Breathe, let go, relax, surrender, merge with yourself, become one with your emotional body and emotions. Become one with your fundamental well-being and goodness. That's what healing of the long-term memory is about.